Good afternoon, Realm Walkers. My name is Kirk Comet. I am the Realmwright of the Dragon Harvest universe, as well as the host of this podcast, the Forging the Realm podcast. This is my debut novel, Demon and Witch, and in this episode, we're going to be talking about superheroes. Now, we have Spider-Man and Batman, but what if we had different blank mans, different animal mans? And the way we're going to figure out what those animals are is by a random animal generator, and then we are going to develop the best superhero that we possibly can out of them. So with that said, let's get into it. So just to clarify the rules, the terms, and the conditions, we have already the hyphen man. So again, Batman, Superman, any kind of animal. I'm trying to think of what other ones there are. We don't know. Doesn't matter. Wolverine, I think, falls into this category even though he's not a blank man. He could have just as easily been named Wolverine Man. It does not roll off the tongue as smoothly, but you get the point. I have a random animal generator. I'm going to hit the button to randomly generate an animal. An animal will come forth, and that is the animal we're working with. And so we'll use that animal to try and develop a compelling superhero. It has to be off the spot or on the spot. We can also do a supervillain, and then we'll just kind of see where we get. We'll rank them, and we'll go forward with the next one. Let's kick things off. The first one we got was a whale. A whale man. Oh my goodness. So in what way would our character be a whale? Now, Spider-Man correlates to being a spider because he shoots webs, but those are something that he made. They're not innate to his person unless, again, you're Tobey Maguire. He also sticks to walls. He has like the proportionate strength of a spider. Is that right? He's a little smarter. He's got a spidey sense, but that's just kind of a cliche like branding thing that they did there. And maybe Batman as well. So for Whale Man, let's say that he can use, how do the whales communicate in the water? Their little bellows. Woo! Maybe he's got something like that. Let's also say that he is really large. That just makes sense. Actually, in My Hero Academia, isn't there a figure called Killer Orca? Is that right? My Hero Academia. Let's see here. I'm seeing Hugo Sakumata. But what is his hero name? Gang Orca. Okay. So maybe he's something like Gang Orca. I wonder what his power is. I can't quite remember. Let's see, he has enhanced physical prowess and can produce hypersonic waves to paralyze his targets. Okay, I feel like we're on the right track with this. He looks creepy, I'll tell you that. So that's compelling. If you haven't seen a picture of him, he might be worth a look up. He's kind of wearing like a white business suit, and then he's got like a black cowl that gives him the killer whale look. And I think that's something we would have to go with. We want to use the ability to produce waves, and then I would just make him really like beefed up, really large. And so that's our first character, and we'll just call him Whale. We'll just be very on brand with that. In terms of compellingness, it's not. We need a world for him to exist in, so it's hard to say. We could put him in like a really coastal town, like especially like Pacific Northwest coastal, like where it's not pleasant to be in the water. Um, and like he could kind of fight pirates, but we'd also need to populate it with pirates because I don't think that's a very big issue on the Oregon coast. From Oregon, let me know. Would be interested to hear. Okay, next character. We have a chinchilla. Chinchillas are really soft. They hop, so we'd probably play off that. We'd probably play off the hopping element. They gnaw things. I don't know how a superhero can ethically gnaw on their villains, though. Maybe this is a villain. Maybe they're like a kooky, crazy kind of villain with hopping powers, and they like eat their opponents. I mean, chinchillas are not carnivorous. If you have or you're thinking about getting a chinchilla, don't be afraid of them on account of this. They're wonderful pets. That one's tough. I think we got to play off the hopping element, and then we'll just make him like very, very smart. very thoughtful. Maybe he can speak to chinchillas and like he purposely keeps a bunch of them around him, uh, and like can overcome their flight or fight mentality and make them fight. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, that's a good point. That's a good one. Magenta in Sky High is considered a B-list superhero in the movie, but she ends up being an A-lister in the way that she performs. She can turn into a purple hamster. She can crawl through vents. So we have that option as well. That still seems a little B tier to me, especially as a supervillain. That's not necessarily a great power. You're gonna have to pair that with something. So maybe like chinchilla anthropomorphism, but like maintaining that hop ability even in your human form. That's the best I got for that one. Like crazy if I just called them chinchilla. I feel like we're just going to use most of the animals' names for this. Just off the top of my head, that seems to be the way to go. Plus, we want the branding to work. We have to be able to defend that this is the chinchilla villain. I didn't think it could get worse than chinchilla. Next up, we have the possum. So literally just something that like gets scared and passes out. How is that to our advantage? You know what? Demon Slayer has a character who kind of passes out. He blacks out. It's a little different. What is the name of him? Let's see. Let's go Zenitsu Agatsuma. If you watch Demon Slayer, tell me if I'm saying that rightly. I've seen some Demon Slayer. I've not like actively followed it. Does he black out? Let's see here. Yes, Zenitsu Agatsuma from the anime series Demon Slayer does black out, particularly when he is overwhelmed by fear or stress. When his life is in danger, his immense fear causes him to pass out, entering a state of unconsciousness, which allows him to utilize his unconscious combat ability. Okay, that's something. I think that the fun route here, because a possum doesn't just um, like black out and then still perform, it actually passes out. I think it could be fun to have a sort of character who passes out under extreme duress, but then his consciousness can still operate and move around and explore the area. And so if he passes out, he has to be under duress, but if he passes out in the right situation, he can be safe while getting to explore uh, areas, villain hideouts, those kinds of things. And then he would serve more as like an intel person for people who aren't going to pass out when they actually invade the area. I think that's the way to go here. And then we could call him Possum, and he's still a workable character. Let's hit the next button. We have a bat. I kind of feel like that one's taken, not only because there's Batman, but then Batman has a villain called Man Bat. I don't really have anything to expand on there, so we're just going to hit the next button. And we have the Elend, which I'm not really familiar with. It looks like a deer. The common Elend. Let's see here. Also known as the southern Elend or Elend antelope, okay, is a large savanna and plains antelope found in eastern and southern Africa. An adult male is around 1.6 meters tall at the shoulder and can weigh up to 942 kilograms with a typical range of 500 to 600 kilograms. Okay, mass it says 880 to 2,100 pounds for male adults. So he can get pretty big. His speed is 25 miles per hour maximum. I think we just, give him horns, our character, make him fast. Yeah, I think that's what we do. Give him a little super strength, and he's good to go. Maybe some armor, maybe like a back. I could see him as a thief or something like that, like a bank robber kind of character. So again, that he would be a villain, but that would work. I'd be into that. Then we have the gorilla. The gorilla is pretty cool. I don't think you have to do much justification for like why a gorilla could be a compelling. Again, I like to see that one as a villain, just something with like immense super strength, the ability to leap and bound and climb, but still a person. The Flash has a gorilla. What's his name? Yes, thank you, Gorilla Grodd, and he's got like telekinesis powers, those kinds of things. So they did stuff to humanize him as a gorilla. But I would like to see a man who's got like gorilla kind of powers and strength and abilities. We'll do one more here. We got some crazy draws today. We have the meerkat, which I don't quite know how that would work as like a standalone villain. Maybe as like a tribe of people here, because they work together. The meerkat is a small mongoose found in southern Africa. It is characterized by a broad head, large eyes, a pointed snout, long legs, a thin tapering tail, and a brindled coat pattern. You know, really, when I think of those, I think of them standing guard for each other. I think that that's what we'd have to have. Like, it would be more of a clan, the meerkat clan, than a single entity. And they would, yeah, they'd watch out for each other, but then they would engage in like nefarious criminal activities. Are they all bad guys? I can't remember all the ones I did. We can make them good guys, but I feel like really, we'll do one more roll and we'll find who our hero is going to be for all of our villains. It's a beaver. Okay, well, let's look up some beaver data. Let's see here. Let's just try for like beaver facts. Maybe that's that's the way to go. You know, I'll tell you this story. When I was a child, my brother and I were on a kayak excursion with my father and a park ranger who my father is friends with. And, you know, it's a couple day excursion, so you're just going down a river. And we would just pull over as it got dark on these sand beds, and we'd sleep on these little islands in the middle of the river. And one night we were sleeping, again, you know, you're under the stars, you're just kind of out there. And I heard, not too far away from us, I woke up to it, the sound of like a rock being smashed against the rocks down by the shoreline. And I was scared because I was like, that's got to be like 10 feet from us. Who is on this thing with us? What person came out here? And I woke up my dad, and I was really nervous. And it turns out it was a beaver smacking its tail, probably wanting us to leave, to be honest. He didn't bother us outside of that. But they can really smack their tails. And so maybe that's something we include in the build. He's got to have a beaver tail. That's like the iconic thing about the beaver. And maybe it's a very strong tail, which maybe he can like even smash it into the ground and just create like earthquakes and wind tunnels for people to like fly back from. Okay, here's some key features of the beaver. This says they are a keystone species in almost any ecosystem they find themselves in. If you remove beavers from an environment, many other species will struggle to survive. That can be like the front page to this guy's. As soon as you flip it open, that's the fact about beavers, and then the story launches. This fact, I'm on Reddit, so just be aware of where I'm getting these facts. This says hunting and trapping them nearly to extinction in Northern America was incredibly stupid for biomes here. And then the next comment says the apex herbivore. So okay, in our comic we have the beaver, and it's a man with a beaver tail, and then the subtitle is the apex herbivore. Okay, this one says their tails help them balance when carrying large wood, etc. Let's give our character some super strength. I mean, he's going to need that. We do have to kind of deal with this. It says beaver teeth never stop growing, but they don't grow out of their jaws like we think of for normal animals. Their teeth curve like all the way back into the skull. Wow. You know, I don't know what to do about that. Because again, I don't really think that we should have a superhero who is like eating his villains. And he's a herbivore, right? We could give him like a steel set of teeth, but still, it's like, it's very hard branding, I think. I think it's very hard branding. But I think that's what we're going to have to do for now until we come up with a better idea. What else could serve as teeth? Could we give him like fists that have like little, what are those called? What are those called? You know, I don't even know what to type in. Punching. Yeah. Like, what if he had brass knuckles that were like beaver teeth shaped? I think that's way better. Okay, we have Beaver, the apex herbivore, and he's got these brass knuckle beaver fangs, as well as a tail. And he is the one who keeps our cities safe.
Herbivores definitely don't have fangs.
Herbivores don't have fangs, it's true, but he's a beaver, so he's got these giant, I'm going to call them fangs. I think that works. Let me know, could Beaver keep our cities safe against the gorilla, the whale, the possum, who I think I said was a good guy. Maybe the possum helps the beaver. That's his kind of sidekick. That's the guy who, like, he's his Wade to Kim Possible. Thanks so much for watching this. What animal needs to be made into a superhero or villain that hasn't been? Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, or if you want to be connected to the broader community. This just helps you stay plugged in and engaged with other fantasy content as we post here, as we hang out together, as we grow. If you like fantasy writing or world building, those are things to talk about too. Thanks so much. I'm Kirk Comet. Take care.